I stepped away from the boardroom table to take the call, my phone buzzing with the confirmation I'd been waiting for. $47 million. The wire transfer had just cleared. My logistics company, built over 38 years from a single delivery truck in Winnipeg to a fleet operating across 3 provinces, was officially sold. I walked back into the private dining room at Le Bernardin, the most exclusive restaurant in downtown Toronto, where my son Marcus and his wife Jennifer were waiting. The champagne they'd ordered sat untouched. I noticed Marcus glancing at his phone, then at Jennifer. She gave him a small nod. "Dad, congratulations," Marcus said, standing to shake my hand. The grip felt calculated, practiced. 47 million. That's incredible. I smiled, pulling him into a hug instead. Couldn't have done it without the foundation your grandfather and I built together. We sat down, and the waiter appeared, a young man in his 20s with attentive eyes. As he poured water into our glasses, I noticed something odd. His hand trembled slightly as he filled mine, and he leaned in, his voice barely a whisper. "Sir, I apologize for the intrusion, but I need to tell you something. When you stepped away, your daughter-in-law put something in your water glass. I saw her pour it from a small bottle. My blood ran cold." I looked up at him, searching his face for any sign of deception. He met my eyes steadily, then glanced toward Jennifer, before quickly moving to the next table. I sat frozen for a moment. Jennifer. Not Marcus. But why would she? Unless Marcus knew. Unless they both planned this. My hands started to shake, but I forced them steady. "Think, Robert. Think. You know what? I'm feeling a bit parched," I said, reaching for my glass. But as I lifted it, I deliberately knocked my elbow against the breadbasket, sending it tumbling. The basket hit my water glass, which tipped over, spilling across the white tablecloth. "Oh, for heaven's sake," I muttered, grabbing napkins. "I'm so sorry." In the confusion, as Jennifer reached for her purse and Marcus signaled the waiter, I switched my glass with Marcus's. The glasses were identical, both now refilled by the attentive waiter who'd warned me. "All good, Dad," Marcus said, but I noticed the tightness in his voice. Was he annoyed at the delay, or something else? We ordered oysters, Atlantic salmon, maple-glazed venison. The kind of meal that cost more than I used to make in a week when I started the business. Jennifer kept touching her necklace, a nervous habit I'd noticed at family dinners. Marcus checked his watch 3 times in 10 minutes. "So, Dad, now that the sale is final, Jennifer and I were thinking," Marcus began, cutting his salmon with precise movements. "You should really consider moving somewhere more manageable. That house in Rosedale is too big for one person." "I like the house," I said carefully. "Your mother and I picked it out together." "But Mom's been gone for 4 years," Jennifer interjected, her voice saccharine sweet. "And with your retirement, wouldn't you rather be somewhere with less maintenance? We found this wonderful assisted living community in Oakville. Very upscale. They have a golf course." Assisted living. I was 63 years old, ran 10 kilometers every morning, and still worked the floor at my warehouse until the day we closed the sale. "I'll think about it," I said, taking a sip of my water. The glass Marcus was drinking from, the one that used to be mine. "You should also think about estate planning," Marcus continued. "With this kind of money, you need proper structures, trusts, tax shelters. Jennifer's cousin is a financial advisor specializing in high net worth individuals." I nodded, watching them both. Marcus took another drink of his water, then another. 15 minutes later, Marcus's face started to change. His complexion went pale, then faintly gray. Sweat beaded on his forehead. "Marcus, honey, are you okay?" Jennifer asked, her voice rising with concern that sounded genuine. "I don't know," he said, his voice weak. "I feel strange. Dizzy. My stomach." He stood up abruptly, swaying. "I need to use the restroom." He made it 3 steps before his knees buckled. I caught him as he fell, his weight heavy in my arms. "Call an ambulance!" I shouted. The restaurant erupted into controlled chaos. The paramedics arrived within 7 minutes. By then, Marcus was barely conscious, mumbling incoherently. They loaded him onto a gurcher and rushed him out. Jennifer followed, crying, her mascara running down her cheeks. I rode in my own car to Toronto General Hospital, my hands gripping the steering wheel. The waiter's words echoed in my head. "She put something in your glass." At the hospital, they took Marcus straight into emergency. Jennifer paced the waiting room, her phone pressed to her ear. I caught fragments of her conversation. I don't know what happened. No, he just collapsed. The doctors are running tests. 2 hours later, a doctor emerged, her expression grave. Mr. Blackwood, your son has been poisoned. We found traces of benzodiazepines in his system, levels consistent with an overdose. We've stabilized him, but we need to report this to the police. This wasn't accidental. The police arrived 40 minutes later. Detective Sarah Chen, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Blackwood, can you walk me through what happened tonight? I told her everything. The celebration dinner, the waiter's warning, the switched glasses, Jennifer's suggestion about assisted living, the cousin, who was a financial advisor. Detective Chen's expression didn't change, but I saw her write something in her notebook with more pressure than before. And where is Mrs. Blackwood now? She asked. In the bathroom, I said. She's been there for 20 minutes. Detective Chen nodded to her partner, who moved toward the women's restroom. But Jennifer didn't come out. The female officer went in and found the bathroom empty, the window open. Jennifer had run. Over the next 72 hours, the investigation unfolded like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. The police found the vial in Jennifer's purse, left behind in her panic to escape. It contained lorazepam, a powerful sedative, enough to incapacitate someone for hours, possibly cause permanent damage, if not treated. They traced the prescription to a doctor in Mississauga who had no record of Jennifer as a patient. The prescription was forged, the doctor's DEA number stolen. Then they found the life insurance policies. Jennifer had taken out 3 separate policies on Marcus over the past 18 months, totaling $8 million. Marcus had signed them, but the signatures looked rushed, possibly forged, but that wasn't the real target. Detective Chen called me into the station on the 4th day. Mr. Blackwood, we've been digging into your son and daughter-in-law's finances. Marcus has gambling debts. Serious ones. He owes over $300,000 to some very dangerous people. People who don't accept payment plans. My heart sank. My son, my only child. There's more, she continued. We found evidence that Jennifer and Marcus had been researching conservatorship laws. They were planning to have you declared mentally incompetent after you were dosed with the drug. The plan was to make it look like you were experiencing cognitive decline, then petition the court for guardianship. The pieces clicked into place. The assisted living suggestion. The financial advisor cousin. Get me somewhere isolated, somewhere they could control my access to my money, then slowly drain the accounts while I was legally unable to stop them. Where's Jennifer now? I asked. We picked her up this morning at the border. She was trying to cross into Michigan with a fake passport. They let me see Marcus on the 6th day. He was awake, sitting up in his hospital bed, his face drawn and pale. Dad, he said when I walked in. His voice cracked. Dad, I'm so sorry. I pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. Tell me what happened, Marcus. All of it. And he did. The gambling had started small, friendly poker games with college friends, then online betting, then the casino in Niagara Falls. He'd won big a few times, which only made the addiction worse. When he lost, he borrowed from loan sharks to cover his debts, thinking he'd win it back. Jennifer had known. She'd seen it as an opportunity. She convinced me that you had more money than you could ever spend, Marcus said, tears streaming down his face. That you wouldn't miss a few million. That we could set up a conservatorship, take care of your finances, and nobody would get hurt. You'd live comfortably in a nice facility, and we'd handle everything. And the drug? I asked, my voice hard. Marcus looked down. That was supposed to be for you, to make you seem confused, forgetful. We'd dose you periodically, document the episodes, build a medical case for incompetency. Jennifer said it was harmless, that it would just make you sleepy and disoriented temporarily. But the amount she used would have done more than that, I said. The doctors said the dosage could have caused permanent brain damage, or worse. Marcus closed his eyes. I didn't know. I swear, Dad, I didn't know she was going to use that much. When I drank it, when I felt my body shutting down, I realized what she was capable of. She was willing to hurt you, maybe even kill you, to get the money. I sat in silence, looking at my son. The boy I'd taught to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to drive a car. The young man I'd been so proud of when he graduated from Queen's University. Where had I gone wrong? "Did you love me at all, Marcus?" I asked finally. "Or was it always about the money?" "I love you, Dad," he sobbed. "I love you so much, and I hate myself for what I almost did. I was desperate, and I was weak, and I let Jennifer manipulate me into betraying you." "What happens now?" I asked. "The Crown Attorney is offering me a deal. I testify against Jennifer, I cooperate fully, and I serve 5 years instead of 15. Jennifer's facing attempted murder charges, fraud, forgery. She'll be in prison for a long time." I stood up. "You should take the deal, Marcus." "Dad, You should take the deal," I repeated. "Serve your time. Get help for the gambling. And when you get out, we'll talk about whether there's still a relationship to salvage." I walked to the door, then paused. I'm not going to lie and say I'm not angry. I'm furious. I'm heartbroken. But you're still my son. And I remember the man you used to be before the addiction took over. Maybe, with time, you can be that man again. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Jennifer was convicted on all counts: attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy. She was sentenced to 18 years in a federal penitentiary. Marcus took the deal. At his sentencing hearing, I sat in the back of the courtroom and watched as the judge handed down 5 years, with eligibility for parole after 3. Before the bailiffs led him away, Marcus turned and looked at me. I nodded once. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was acknowledgement that we both had a long road ahead. I sold the house in Rosedale. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I bought a smaller place in the beaches, a neighborhood by Lake Ontario where I could walk along the boardwalk and watch the water. I set up a trust fund for Marcus, accessible only after he completed his sentence, and 2 years of verified sobriety and gambling addiction treatment. If he failed, the money would go to charity. The rest of the $47 million, I decided to put to better use. I established the Blackwood Foundation for Elder Financial Protection, a nonprofit dedicated to educating seniors about financial abuse and providing legal resources for those victimized by family members. I also tracked down the waiter who'd warned me that night. His name was David Nguyen, a university student working his way through medical school. I offered to pay for the rest of his education. He initially refused, saying he'd just done what anyone would do. I insisted. He finally accepted. 6 months after the trial, I sat in my new living room, watching the sun set over Lake Ontario, and thought about trust, how easily it could be broken, how hard it was to rebuild. My phone rang. It was a blocked number from the Toronto East Detention Center, Marcus's weekly call. I hesitated, then answered. "Hi, Dad." His voice came through, small and tentative. "How are you?" "I'm managing," I said. "How are you doing?" "Better. I've been going to the gambling addiction support group here. And therapy. It helps." We talked for the allotted 15 minutes about nothing important. The weather, the food, small things. When the automated system warned us the call would end in 1 minute, Marcus said, "Dad, I know I don't deserve it, but thank you for not giving up on me completely." "You're my son," I said simply. "That doesn't go away, even when everything else does." After we hung up, I sat for a long time, thinking about second chances, about the waiter who'd risked his job to warn a stranger, about the detective who'd believed my story, about the son who'd betrayed me but was now trying, genuinely it seemed, to change. I thought about Jennifer, sitting in a cell, having thrown away her freedom for money she'd never touch. And I thought about myself, 63 years old, with more money than I'd ever dreamed of as a kid delivering packages in Winnipeg, and how close I'd come to losing not just the money, but my life, my dignity, my autonomy. The lake glittered in the fading light, endless and patient. I'd built something once, from nothing. Maybe I could build something again, something better than a company or a fortune. Maybe I could build a legacy of warning others, of protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. The Foundation's first office opened 3 months later. Within a year, we'd helped 243 seniors identify and escape financial abuse situations. 12 of those cases involved adult children or other family members. I hired Sarah Chen when she retired from the police force. She became our director of investigations. David Nguyen graduated medical school and now volunteers as our medical consultant, helping identify signs of drugging or other physical abuse in elderly victims. And Marcus, he's still serving his time. We talk every week. It's awkward, painful sometimes, but we talk. I don't know if we'll ever get back what we had. Maybe that relationship is dead, and we'll have to build something entirely new. Maybe we won't be able to build anything at all, but I know this. I survived. I fought back. And I'm using my second chance to make sure others get theirs too. The money that was supposed to be stolen from me is now protecting people who might have lost everything. That feels like justice. Not the courtroom kind, though that mattered too. But the deeper kind, the kind that turns poison into medicine, betrayal into protection, loss into purpose. Every time I meet someone at the foundation who's been victimized by someone they trusted, someone they loved, I see my own reflection. And I tell them the same thing I learned that night in the restaurant, holding my unconscious son in my arms. Trust is precious, but vigilance is survival. And sometimes the people who save us are the strangers who have nothing to gain except the knowledge that they did the right thing. I think about that waiter every day. How a kid working for tips changed the entire trajectory of my life with 6 whispered words. How courage sometimes looks like breaking protocol to protect someone you don't even know. The Foundation's logo is a water glass, half full. It's a reminder that things can be poured into our lives, good or bad, without our knowledge. That we have to stay aware. That we have the power to switch the glasses before it's too late. And that, sometimes, survival is just the beginning of the story, not the end.